Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Creative Mornings Winnipeg. We are so happy to have you joining us. I'm Katrina.
And I'm Sarah, and we both have the pleasure of being your host today.
We are both graduates of RSC Polytech's Creative Communications program, and we both now have the pleasure of working at RSC Polytech for our day jobs. I am the Alumni Engagement Officer, and the best part of my job is elevating grad success stories, just like our speaker today, Sean's.
And I'm the Indigenous Education Communications Officer. And what I love about my work is being able to tell authentic Indigenous stories and participate in conversations around truth and reconciliation. I'm currently joining you from Treaty 1 territory, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and on the homeland of the Red River Métis Nation. I acknowledge that the water I'm drinking today is sourced from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation, and the electricity that powers my home and yours is from Treaty 5. It was important for me to include a power acknowledgement because there are many aspects of our daily lives that have come at the cost of Indigenous peoples and communities. I also believe that land acknowledgements don't need to be stagnant, and they can be a powerful jumping off point to further our common knowledge and have a more meaningful conversation on our country's history and how we can contribute to reconciliation.
Thanks for sharing that, Sarah. I really appreciate that. I also want to acknowledge that many people in Manitoba and within our global Creative Mornings community are experiencing impacts from the recent Russian invasion of Ukraine. As a global organization with chapters in both Ukraine and Russia, the Creative Mornings family is holding space for those who are grappling with this developing crisis. We know that this is an emotional time for many, and we see and validate how a moment like this can really strike deep. It is in a very real way a monumental moment in our collective history. I think we all know that this is unbelievable and it's happening. And we believe always that holding our community close is the most important tool we have in a crisis. So thank you for being here today. And we hope you take some comfort in knowing and in coming together with Creative Mornings and the Winnipeg community at this time. We're also in the midst of Black History Month, which is celebrated each February in Canada. During Black History Month, we celebrate the many achievements and contributions of Black Canadians and their communities. We encourage you to get curious about Black History Month by seeking out and supporting Black artists, authors, creatives, musicians, advocates, and community leaders. So please tell us in the chat where you're joining us from today and what you have experienced to be a monumental or life-changing coffee or breakfast or brunch experience. Sarah and I were chatting about this, and we were having such a hard time coming up with a monumental breakfast example that we've experienced. So for me, the only thing I could come up with is having brunch in Cinderella's castle at Walt Disney World when I was 7. That was pretty epic. Sarah, do you have any brunch anecdotes you can share?
I can't think of a specific one, but can I just say breakfast and brunch is a monumental part of my life. Like I would say going for brunch with my girlfriends is my favorite hobby. So while you're all telling us that, I'd like to send a special thank you and shout out to RSC Polytech and their American Sign Language class for providing interpretations for our events.
So here's what's going to happen at today's event. At every Creative Mornings Winnipeg event, we get to celebrate the musical talent in Manitoba by having a musician perform for us. This month, we get to hear from Isla Barker, and I'm really excited about that. After hearing from our musician, you'll be invited to join a table group to participate in an activity on the theme of Monumental. After 8 minutes at our tables, we'll invite you back to the main stage to hear from today's speaker, Sean Rayland.
So before we go any further, please note that Creative Mornings are recorded by video and photography and will be used on our social media and websites. By attending this event, you agree to having your image, video, and chat comments recorded. So let's get into some ARMOUR instructions. You may have noticed that when you entered, you landed in the area called the Social Lounge. This is the place where you can hang out and meet new people at the virtual tables. When you're in the Social Lounge, feel free to take a seat at any table by clicking the Take a Seat button. Be sure you turn on your camera and microphone on using the controls at the bottom of the screen. You'll then be able to not only see and hear people who are seated at your tables. Folks at other tables cannot see or hear you. If you want to step out of the table, click the X button on the top right corner of the window, and you'll be back in the main room with many tables to choose from. Keep an eye out for the general chat on the right side. That's where we'll post any announcements and reminders, and you can also participate there. While the presentation is on, you'll see our stage come onto your screen, just like right now, and you won't be able to see or hear your table mates. Your sound and video are automatically turned off when you are watching the main stage. So if you need to fold some laundry, itch your nose, or enjoy that last gulp of coffee, don't worry. Until we go back to table groups, you're off camera.
Before we continue today, please remember to join us for our March virtual event on the global theme of folklore. In March, we'll be welcoming special guest Segun Olude. Segun, originally from Nigeria, is a graphic designer, educator, storyteller, and photography enthusiast. The title of his talk is What's in Your Story Box? And he'll be sharing how he has used design and storytelling to preserve the Yoruba language. For language holds folklore, the stories of a culture, and folklore is expressed through and embedded in one's language. The tickets are available now on Creative Mornings Winnipeg website, and it's completely free, so don't forget to register after today's event. Before we dive in, we want to say thank you to our global and local partners. Without them, we wouldn't get to do this fabulous work in building a community of creativity in Winnipeg.
And thank you to our global partner, MailChimp. Last year, MailChimp reached out to freelancers and independent agencies to learn about the nuts and bolts of their businesses, how they price their services, acquire new clients, staff their projects, and lots more. These learnings helped them create the 2021 MailChimp and Co Benchmark Report, an invaluable resource for understanding how marketing pros stack up against their peers and revealing what top performers do differently. The 2022 survey is live, and MailChimp is looking for your feedback. So if you have 15 minutes, please take the survey. Just click the link in the chat and share your thoughts.
Thank you also to our local partners. You can see these awesome partners on the screen right now. To our Creative Mornings Winnipeg Steering Committee, who invited Sarah and I to host today. Thank you for your hard work in putting together these events every month. Thanks, team. And now it's time for some wonderful local music, thanks to our partnership with Manitoba Music. We have a special performance by Isla Barker, and I'm going to read you a little bit about her. With a soul and voice as smooth as warm honey, singer-songwriter Isla Barker captures audiences with her sweet melodies and dynamic presence. Isla is of mixed Anishinaabe and settler heritage, with roots running deep in the Manitoba prairies, seasoning her craft with rich history and powerful textures. Coming from a long line of storytellers, she fuses authentic and timeless notes, creating moments of serenity and blissful escape. Isla has brought her craft to an array of national festivals and stages, including the Regina Folk Festival, the Winnipeg Folk Festival, and the Sekiaway Festival. During this first song, called Intuition, we invite you to get up and move your body to release something you're holding on to. You can dance, jump, sway, shake, whatever serves you this morning. Enjoy.
Yourself, you know best. Face your fears, forget the rest. Listen closely, whisper breath, messages from deep within. All that noise makes it hard to hear your voice. All of the noise makes it hard. Intuition, gotta listen to your spirit deep inside. Intuition, trust the wisdom you've got. Count each breath until you can. deep inside. Intuition, trust the wisdom you got. Intuition. Trust yourself. You know best.
Thanks so much to Isla, and we will hear from her again at the end of the event. Each month, Creative Morning chapters share a global theme to reflect on and contemplate. February's theme is monumental. Our Richmond chapter chose this month's exploration of monumental, and mending walls illustrated the theme. When we call something monumental, we mean it as a matter of scale. Societies erect statues and build squares and dedicate memorials to prevent the past you bear witness to. What will you leave behind when you're gone? Monumental can also be a matter of significance, meaning vast or stupendous. A monumental moment is a moment that is remembered as a significant turning point in your life. When I think of things that are monumental, sometimes it's the small moments that can create the most monumental shifts in your perspective in your life. For me, it's been all the women and mentors I've met, and that just by living their lives and being themselves have created distinct monumental awareness shifts for me and opened my eyes to different ways to live and be. So you never know who you could be creating monumental changes for just by being yourself. What does monumental mean to you, Katrina?
What you said really resonates with me, Sarah. I think that we often don't realize when we're actually living in those turning points. And it's only when we look back that we see how impactful an event or moment or person was in our lives. When I think of monumental, I think of something that sounds extremely trivial, but it actually truly changed the course of my life. When I was 13, I entered a contest. I know that doesn't sound groundbreaking at all, but it was a national contest for chapters, or Indigo. And they were looking for teen book reviewers. And I ended up being one of 5 winners across the country. Won a trip to Toronto, a $1,000 gift card, and free books for years because I was able to stay on as a teen reviewer, representing the prairies until I graduated high school. I was a major nerd, if you're picking up on that. But it was a life-shaping first job. It introduced me to writing, publishing, communications, and PR, which led me to study creative communications at RC Polytech. And I still review books for the Winnipeg Free Press to this day, and I love it. So definitely a monumental thing for me. So now we invite you to explore the theme of monumental with others here today. Think back on your life to date and share a moment, decision, or action that you felt had a monumental impact on the person you are today. You'll be in your groups for 8 minutes, and then we'll bring you back to the main event. If you're not sure about sharing right now, we invite you to break out of your comfort zone. Remember how you being engaged in our activities can have a positive impact on others. Like Sarah said, you never know what impact you may have on someone else today. In the social lounge, feel free to take a seat at any table by clicking on Take a Seat. If you're able and comfortable, please turn your camera and microphone on using the controls at the bottom of the screen. We'll provide a 2-minute warning before we invite you to come back to the main stage, and then we'll welcome our speaker. You can leave your table anytime and head back to the main room by hovering over the X in the top right corner of the table window by clicking Leave Table. See you soon.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a great time. Now I will be sharing our Creative Mornings manifesto and introducing our speaker for today. Creative Mornings chapters around the world not only celebrate creative talent, but also promote an open space to connect with like-minded people. Creative Mornings is guided by a powerful manifesto, which we read at every event. So here's the manifesto. Everyone is creative. A creative life requires bravery and action, honesty and hard work. We are here to support you, celebrate with you, and encourage you to make the things you love. We believe in the power of community. We believe in giving a damn. We believe in face-to-face connections, in learning from others, in jazz hands, virtual claps, and virtual snaps. We bring together people who are driven by passion and purpose, confident that they will inspire one another and inspire change in neighborhoods and cities around the world. Everyone is welcome.
The Winnipeg chapter has also made a commitment to reflecting diversity and ensuring inclusion in our events. Located in one of the most diverse communities in North America, we are as inclusive as we are creative, and we will be creative in order to achieve inclusion. We believe in the value of diversity of perspectives, audiences, and industries as we create safe events to debate and discuss what it means to be creative. We will celebrate multiple approaches and points of view, and we will be mindful and purposeful in building a culture where these differences are not only valued, but celebrated.
And now I'm very pleased to welcome our speaker for today, Sean Rayland. Sean is an ex-gang member, recovering addict, recent graduate from RC Polytech, and the owner of Red Rebel ARMOUR, an Indigenous-led social enterprise selling authentic Anishinaabe streetwear to fund a social purpose, which is racism diversion strategy. In addition to providing employment, Sean has incorporated Indigenous ways of knowing throughout his organization. This means he and his team have reshaped the workplace and incorporated an Indigenous worldview in everything they do. For those who aren't familiar with social enterprises, they are community-based businesses that sell goods or services in the marketplace to achieve a social, cultural, and/or environmental purpose. They reinvest their profits to maximize their social mission. Social enterprises are a key model for doing community economic development, a framework that values economic, social, and environmental outcomes, and is a diversity of enterprises and organizations that support local asset building and community ownership. Some of the possible community outcomes generated by social enterprises include the creation of jobs for people facing barriers to employment, reduced poverty, environmental sustainability, reduced crime, improved health outcomes, and more inclusive, strong, and sustainable local economies. With Red Rebel ARMOUR, Sean is running an awesome social enterprise, and we can't wait to learn more about it. I've had the pleasure of interviewing and watching Sean's presence grow in the community over the past few years. When I think of Sean, I think of his spirit name, Standing Sasquatch Man, and the teaching of the Sasquatch, which is honesty. And Sean lives his life with this beautiful, graceful honesty that's so inspiring to watch. So without further ado, Creative Mornings Winnipeg is thrilled to welcome Sean Rayland to our virtual stage today. Welcome, Sean, and the stage is yours.
Bonjour, Nibui Sabe, Indigenous Cause Magazine Nodem. I said my name is Standing Sasquatch Man, and I'm from the Eagle Clan, and my given name is Sean Rayland. And I'm the owner and founder of Red Rebel ARMOUR, authentic streetwear made by Indigenous artists. Founded in 2018, Red Rebel ARMOUR is an Indigenous-led social enterprise selling our authentic streetwear brand to fund our employment service, which provides on-the-job paid training and a culturally safe work environment for our relatives returning back to the community. But why, Sean? Why did you want to create an organization to help our relatives returning back to the community? Why did you choose streetwear? How did you come up with this idea? And to truly understand how I came up with Red Rebel ARMOUR, we need to understand my personal history. I'm a father, ex-gang member, ex-addict, and recent RRC Polytech graduate. But more importantly, I am a human being. So what is an ex-gang member and ex-addict? It's a person that has found belonging. What does that mean? It means I grew up here in Winnipeg with no sense of identity or understanding of who I was. It was normal to have my role models teach me how to get high, sell drugs, and rob people. It was normal to see my family members or friends in jail greeting me with a burrito and a game of cards, or see something violent go down in one of the cells. But all that changed in a monumental way when I met an elder in the Winnipeg Remand Center named Lionel Houston. We would often meet, sip some tea, smudge, and talk. Through those meetings, I learned about the history of my people, and I discovered I belonged to a rich culture full of language, art, teachings, beliefs, and governance systems. With this knowledge, I began to question my way of living because I could see how my behavior was destroying me, my family, and my community. I remember one morning looking around the range thinking something is different. I realized the cycle I was living in wasn't normal, and I didn't belong in jail. I belonged to beautiful people with a strong connection to the land. From that moment, I decided I was done playing cards and I would work on myself to find a way out. So, what does finding a way out look like? I started studying night and day for about 8 months for my mature grade 12 diploma. I would just stay in the cell and figure out the assignments the best I could. May 2018, I was released and I had a new vision for my future, one filled with family and success. It was funny though when I first started working towards my new life because I could not imagine it and all I could see was clouds when I tried to. So I'm back in Winnipeg. Me and my partner are trying it out this one last time. I landed a part-time job as a stock boy, putting away casing from a tree at Lowe's. I also started attending a weekly sharing circle for men at the Momentum Center on Selkirk. But I knew something was missing. I still had a void. I needed a business. I needed to make my own money like I always did. So I started thinking, how can I do this the legit way? Of course, I went on Google, which led to YouTube, which led to this and that. And I made money this way and I got the best method that way. I went down that rabbit hole and discovered drop shipping through Shopify. And I decided that was going to be the business I'll learn and create. I barely had any money. I would use free trial after free trial to learn what I could during the free trial period. I learned how to build websites, graphic design, digital marketing, and build a brand all on YouTube. And I also decided to look into post-secondary since I studied so hard to get my mature grade 12 while incarcerated. Upon searching, I came across this social innovation and community development course at RRC Polytech. They talked about using business strategies to help your community and planet. It was perfect timing that I discovered this course, given where I was at personally in life, such as staying sober from alcohol, attending sharing circles and ceremonies, working a dead end job, creating a business, and raising a family. So I applied and I got accepted. Then I applied for funding through my band, which no one said in my family said I would get, but I did. All these blessings were happening for me one after the other, and life was moving fast. And I had a strong support system that kept me grounded. So now I'm in school, creating this business when I go home and learning more about my culture on the weekends. With everything I'm learning in school and ceremony becomes merged with the business along with my personal story, which gives birth to Red Rebel Armor. Everything I experienced, lived, and been through, that's Red Rebel Armor. It's a reflection of me. So now I'm asking myself, how can I help my people by selling shirts? And that was pretty much the question I kept asking myself during the majority of the course. Then we had a lesson on social enterprise models, and I discovered that I could use the sales of my streetwear brand to fund whatever social purpose I wanted to go with. So the social purpose I decided on and I was passionate about was to help my brothers and sisters find their way after being released from prison. I knew having access to Indigenous ways of knowing could transform a person's life if they decided to practice it. When I speak about transformation, I'm talking about a new perspective on life, an increase in pro-social behavior, such as wanting to learn new things, being proactive in the community, and a willingness to live. I also knew from my personal experience that when an Indigenous person is released from prison, they don't get out with $1 million and somewhere safe to go. They are often met with socioeconomic barriers such as poverty, no transportation, lower levels of education, addiction, and systemic racism. We also deal with lots of intergenerational trauma. So when you are released, you get right back out to the same conditions that existed before you were locked up. The drug using and selling, the yelling, the fighting, the drinking, domestic violence, and gangs, it doesn't just go away. So with all that going on in my head, I thought about which way can I attack this problem of over incarceration and high recidivism rates of my people in Manitoba. I decided it would be an employment service for our Indigenous relatives returning back to the community, and I would create some really dope streetwear to fund this employment service. The reason I chose employment is that I understand that a person needs to have stability and a steady income to build the foundation for their new life. Fast forward to July 2021. I've been working at Resource Assistance for Youth for the past 2 years, and I just graduated college. It's the third week of July, and I'm dancing at the Eagle Wolf Sundance for the third year. And I realized something. I realized that it was time for me to go all in on Red Rebel Armor since I've been running it and iterating it for the past 2 years. After Sundance, I came home and got straight to work. In August, I was contacted by an old friend that was recently released from Stony Mountain. He told me that he was looking for work and wanted to make a better life for himself. I explained to him that I just created this program and if he'd be interested in working for Red Rebel Armor. He said, yeah, I don't know. He laughed. We both laughed. And I let him know this was real. He wasn't going to get in trouble. But given our history, I could understand his concern. I asked him to give me a chance, and he decided. And since then, we've been grinding hard the past 6 months, printing t-shirts out of the third floor of the Social Enterprise Center. But it hasn't been easy, and we've encountered many challenges and obstacles. Those barriers and conditions I spoke about still exist. We just get better at overcoming them or dealing with them. I'm proud to share that Justin has been promoted to production clan manager and takes care of our production, ensuring a top-notch quality product. With the permission of Justin, I'm honored to share that he has been taking care of his teenage daughter and they'll be moving into their first apartment together. I'm also proud to share that we have our products available at the Hudson's Bay Company and CF Polo Park in St. Vital. Since the start of our employment service, we have prevented 1 interaction with law enforcement and 6 months of secured custody costs, resulting in an estimated cost savings of $100,000 plus for the federal government of Canada. In closing, I think the most monumental impact of all has been the fact that I discovered a new way to live and provide for my family. It was an honor to speak here this morning, Miigwech.
All right. Thank you so much, Sean. I just love hearing you speak and sharing your story. So we do have a few moments for questions for our speaker.
Okay.
You can put them in the Q&A tab on the right, and we'll pick them up from there. I have a few questions for you, Sean. And one thing I've been thinking about is how do you go about picking your designs for your clothing?
Well, it's usually like now everything's data driven and we create creativity off of that. So like we've been doing a lot of analytics work. I work with Kale Bonham. She's an awesome designer and we're all learning this stuff together. But we also we reach out to Lionel Houston if we need questions on certain significances of, for instance, we have the strawberry sage design and we just ask questions to make sure that we're also not putting out teachings, right? Because that's not our place, but we just promoting the significance and how beautiful grandmother moon is. It's grandmother, right? Like, what does that mean? That just means gentleness, caring, all that good stuff, right? So but that's usually how we go about it. We have little ideation periods where we just do some brainstorming. But to be honest, the past few months, Kale's just been on it. She's just been grinding. She just took over our designing, so she's awesome.
Yeah, there's some beautiful designs that you guys have put out.
Yes,
Um,
thank you.
so we do have a question from Christian Robin. What's your favorite design and why?
The favorite design would be, it's either there's the Chiefs for Justice that I like so much because I don't think I have a picture of it here, but inside the chief head there's words that say ceremony, mental health, overcoming oppression, all those things that really I stand for as a person, and I feel that's Red Rebel Armor stands for too. But it didn't do so well. Like, I'll tell you guys a funny story too. Like, there was actually someone committed a crime in it, and it was on TV and all this. And so I was like, you know what? Any publicity is good publicity. I shared it on the Instagram. I said we're totally opposite of that. So the irony in that, but so if that person reads those messages on there, I'm sure they could find their way. And the other one would be Indigenous Visionary. I think that's very powerful because that's how we should be seeing ourselves, especially after everything we went through historically and that we go through systemically, especially growing up in the inner city. And you just idolize false things. Like, we need to be seeing ourselves as visionaries, as change makers, right? So that's the messaging behind that.
I love that. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of, I'm seeing in the chat some of our instructors, and they're like always repping Red Rebel Armor. And even Elder Paul Guimond, one of our elders in residence, he's always rocking a Red Rebel Armor shirt. So you definitely have some good spokespeople. So
Yes.
we have a question from Shannon.
Okay.
How do you get the word out about your employment program to those who are coming out of incarceration?
Well, right now it's just we're at capacity with Justin. That was a community referral. So we're actually there's an organization. I don't want to name them yet because we're still talking, but there's an organization. We had what is that? We went for a field trip to a federal penitentiary. They showed us all the things they're doing there for inmates that are going to be getting released, like all their carpentry. They even had a textile shop, and that's why I was brought there to try to figure out maybe we could bring operations there, or however that's going to look. So right now it's kind of like it's not very broadcasted that much. I just talk about what we're doing, but we are looking to increase our capacity so we could just be like, hey, we could take on 5 guys right here, no problem. I think the past 6 months was just like, is this like the pilot project, like seeing if this was going to work the way I said it was going to. And so far it has been like the impacts that I've seen working with the person that I'm working with is just, it's just crazy. That's all I have to say is, and it's not even me, it's the work he's doing. He's showing up to work, he's coming, he's listening to me talk about how I changed, or I'm just trying to pass on a little bit of knowledge that I got, trying to transmit that. And the biggest impacts are the shifts in beliefs, right? The shifts from going from that mentality to going to wanting to be a father, to going to wanting to provide for yourself and your family, right? As opposed to just wanting to buy some cool clothes to look cool and chill at the bar. You know what I mean? So that's real, and that's why I'm doing this, because I know families will be reunited, right? And that's a stepping stone to gaining our full self-determination, I think, as a people.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And to see, people that you're working with and seeing that transformation happen within themselves must be amazing to watch.
It is. I almost tear up sometimes when he says certain things. Like, it's awesome.
We do have a question from Al McLeod. What are your expansion plans, and how can the broader community help?
That's one thing that I've been reaching out to other organizations just to spark a conversation, because I can't do this on my own. I created something, I think, that's at a point where, like, okay, it's, you know, it looks like it's working. Let's just put some more community behind it, right? And I can only go so far. I'm one aspect of the, you know, of the wheel. I'm one of the spokes, right? We need all those spokes working together to get this rolling. So I have been, I set up a meeting with my participants PO. We're talking to, like, going to a systems meeting, then telling them what I'm doing it's just like I'm trying to get as much people as involved. That's still going to keep the vision. That's still going to make sure that we are helping these people that are getting out, right? That they are finding employment, getting that little bit of stability. And it's not like Red Rebel Armor is the end all be all. We're going to work here forever. It's like, here, come here, here's a conversation I had too with Red River, was like, if we could get some of the people I'm working with certifications while they're working, what if Red Rebel Armor fails? At least there's a follow-up. You could still go out in the labor market and still get employed, right? So those are, as an employer, I'm always just adapting to my employee too, trying to make it better, because I know all the barriers that he faces when he goes home. When I go home to work, I just come home. I'm with my family now. You know, I still face systemic racism, all these things too, but he has other barriers. So for him to get home, it's a little bit harder, right? So those are things that I recognize. So yeah, I just take in a compassionate approach to employment.
Yeah, like you have to be fluid. And that's what I think a lot of people are realizing, that fluidity that needs to happen. We have a question from Ginger Arnold. Have you ever thought of writing a book about your journey to inspire others?
No, I never thought about it. Like, that is an awesome idea. I would like to get around to that one day. For sure. That'd be so cool.
There's your next project.
Yeah, there we go.
We have a question from Christian Robin. What's the best way to help your cause? Is it sharing information, encouraging businesses to hire people coming out of prison, supporting bursaries? Any other ideas?
Man, that's a really good question, you know, and I think this is how I feel. And I think this could answer your question. Is sometimes when I'm talking about these barriers and I'm talking about the things that I do, that I stand for, I feel like the teacher from Charlie Brown, right? No one's getting me. It's just like, rah, rah, rah. So definitely sharing information is huge. But, you know, it's interesting too, because given my history, and then now I'm talking about this, like, it's just, you know, life's just beautiful right now. You know, it's like I said, it's happening so fast. My support system, that's huge. I couldn't have done it without my family or anybody that, you know, helped me along this way. All my instructors, everybody.
Yeah. I have a question. So we're in this age of, you know, Indigenous culture emerging more into the mainstream, and, you know, cultural appropriation it's always been a thing, right? So how do you, from your perspective, how can non-Indigenous creatives work with Indigenous creatives?
I say it's just as easy as just reaching out, just saying, hey, let's collab on some work, and, you know, going from there, just making relations, you know, and that's about it. Like, of course, when it comes to cultural significance, art pieces, yes, do your consulting, do what you need to do, your due diligence on that end. You know, you might need to get certain approval somewhere, but I mean, like, that's what it's about, right? The age of reconciliation. Let's reconcile, let's get to know each other, break down those barriers. We're a lot closer than, you know, we think. And that's just it. I love collaborating. So yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks, John. So I think that's the time we have for our questions. I'm sure people are probably still thinking and probably have questions for you after the fact. But I'll pass it back over to my lovely co-host, Katrina.
What an amazing discussion. I mean, Sean, you're such a pro. I'm so just love listening to you talk. And Sarah, thanks so much for doing such a great job with the Q&A. I want to thank everyone for joining us today, for taking the time to spend your morning with us. I hope you leave us energized and inspired. And thanks so much again to Sean for sharing your story with us, and Sarah for co-hosting. That was really fun. We look forward to seeing everyone back here again at our Creative Mornings event in March, when we welcome Shagan on the theme of folklore. Once again, the tickets are already available for this event, so sign up now and invite your friends. And if you have anything to share with the Creative Mornings Winnipeg's organizers, please drop them a note at winnipeg@creativemornings.com. Before we join the event, we have another song from Isla Barker. But right now, I just want you to consider how your creative practice can make a monumental difference in the lives of others. And remember, this creative community is right behind you. So with that, we're pleased to share one more song from Isla called Girl, I See You. After the music plays, we invite you to stick around to chat with our speaker and others after the song ends. It'll be a great opportunity to network and meet like-minded creative people. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for bearing with Sarah and I this morning, and the Creative Mornings Winnipeg crew looks forward to seeing you back here in March. Now over to Isla.
At a crossroad, and I know I've been through a lot, and trust me, I've been there before, and you are worth more. Life's a series of questions, don't you know? We all choose our paths and destinies, and that's how it goes. Which way will you go? You'll make it through. time, watch the waves, but don't let yourself